Hi, welcome. I'm Rick Conlow. I am glad you are here. We're going to be talking about probably one of the skills and strategies of effective leadership, superstar leadership, that I believe is most important to leaders and managers and executives today. And that's all about coaching. Now, what you'll see here is our superstar leadership model and the 9 strategies that go with it. And if you'll notice, coaching is one of the key ingredients. It ties many of these areas together. That's why it's so important. I was reminded of a cartoon that I've seen recently. And a manager walks up to the desk of an employee and says, "Why aren't you working?" And the employee goes, "I didn't see you coming." Unfortunately, we have a lot of that kind of disengagement in the workplace today. And some research says we have the highest level of employee dissatisfaction and disengagement ever. And then I remember another cartoon I saw. We have this person in an operating room, and there's 4 different medical personnel in the room, including the doctor. And the doctor turns his head and looks over at the nurse and says, "Nurse, go on the internet, will you please, and go to surgery.com, scroll down and click on, 'Are you totally lost?'" You know what? Unfortunately, it seems like too many managers are totally lost when it comes what to do with coaching. How do you motivate, inspire, and engage employees, which is absolutely crucial to success of companies today. So why coaching? Well, let me just say this. Coaching is important for a number of reasons. So let's go to the leader, the manager first. There's conflicting emotions, if you will. On one hand, because of the high-stress workplace, high-competitive workplace we have today, and the challenges of the economy and global competition, managers today have a lot of ambiguity in their goals and expectations, much frustration in terms of the challenges that they face and what to do about it. A lot of disappointment because the growth isn't there as much as they want it to be. The improvement, the results aren't there. And then there's a lot of fear for the job, too, because not getting the results that they need to have, or those mixed emotions that they have. And then, on the other hand, there's heartbreak because people get demoted, or they're not moved ahead. They're not given more responsibility. Now, that's there, but we need to have more of the positive kinds of emotions where people are looking forward to the career advancement, achievement in terms of accomplishing the goals that they have, the passion to do the job well, the recognition that they're receiving for the things they're doing well, and that pride and personal satisfaction that's going on for doing a good job themselves and helping their people to succeed. We need more of that. And these positive emotions, that's what this session is all about, is how do we capture more of that so we can have more success, in spite of the challenges that are out there. Now, there's lots of obstacles and opportunities for coaching. Let's just say opportunities for coaching real quick. Anytime you are near an employee, that's an opportunity for coaching. Anytime you want to send an email or pick up the phone, that's an opportunity for coaching. What do you think the greatest obstacle is? What we hear from managers is this. What came to your mind? We hear time. I don't have time to coach. Now think about that. They say we don't have time to coach, yet research shows that if you coach consistently and use good coaching skills, the research shows you can improve employee productivity 88%. Wow, that comes from the Public Personnel Management Association. Who wouldn't want to have those kind of results? But yet, people say I don't have time to coach. I remember one manager called me up and said, "Rick, I'm too busy. I got this going on. I got this meeting. I got new software, new technology, learn reports to do, meetings to go to," on and on and on. He went, and I interrupted him and said, "Well, then you don't have time to be a manager." Because really, when you think about it, how do you measure the success of a leader or a manager? It's through the people they work with. And if you don't have time for them, you don't have time to be doing that job. That may be harsh, but it's a reality. I found that there are 3 other obstacles that managers tend to have. They don't say it necessarily, but they tend to have, and it's masked by the time obstacle. First of all, they don't care. They don't believe in it, so they don't coach. Second of all, if they do coach, it's all about telling and yelling, not working with somebody, which we'll talk about in more detail. And then the third area is they just don't know how to do it. They haven't been trained. They haven't been a student of the game. They haven't learned. They haven't practiced it. They haven't had a mentor or coach. They just don't have it. We found that there are 5 types of coaches out there. I'm going to briefly mention each one. First of all, as you'll see in the picture here, it's the dinosaur approach to coaching. And what is that? It's prehistoric. It's outdated. It's extinct, if you will. And what it is all about intimidation. Bite people's heads off, if you will, to get them to do things. That never worked in the past, and it isn't going to work today. And then you have the other type. You have the drill instructor type approach. The yelling and telling and screaming, getting people to do things. That may be good for the military, although I've heard they softened that a bit. But it isn't good in the workplace. It leads to harassment and people wanting to work somewhere else. And then you have the kind of coaching where the person is just, whoa, like this. They just don't, they're confused, they're bewildered, they're just overwhelmed with the job. And they may have some coaching skills, but they're just aren't able to use them. And then you have the question mark approach, and that is they're lost. They don't know how to coach, they don't know what to do. So those are 4 types. And then in the middle, you'll see a picture of famed basketball coach John Wooden. And the reason I mention him is John Wooden's teams won 10 NCAA championships in 12 seasons. That'd be like the football team of your choice winning the Super Bowl 10 years out of 12. Not going to happen. His teams did it. He had an incredible winning percentage. And I read his book, and in it they talked about how he was videotaped as he worked with this team. And as he worked with this team, they found he was 99% positive in his approach. Even when people did things wrong, he'd say, hey, when you shoot, go like this. And as opposed to saying, when you shoot, don't do this. He took a different approach to instructing and leading. And herein is one of the keys to effective coaching that we need to remember. More than anything, our goal in coaching is to develop people's skills, competence, and confidence in their approach. How can we do that if we beat them up? It doesn't mean we don't point out things that go wrong. It doesn't mean we give them negative feedback when they need it, but we can turn it into a positive most of the time. Most of the time. So coaching is an ongoing process to help people develop their talents so that they can improve their results. Coaching is not a counseling process where you have to be a therapist and deal with their personal issues, their family issues, their financial issues, or their addiction issues. What we need to do there is maybe listen and empathize for a bit, but then we need to refer them to our company's programs or resources or the community's resources where they can get help. What we need to focus on is the performance on the job. So what I want to do is talk about just a few points related to good coaching, and then I'll sum it up with a model that you can stand on to be more effective. First of all, good coaches communicate clear performance objectives, clear expectations and goals. All good performance starts with clear goals. We need to have that conversation. Good coaches also provide regular feedback. So they praise people when they do it well, and if they're not doing it so well, just like I mentioned John Wooden earlier, they correct them so they know how to do it the right way. Good coaches, or should I say superstar coaches, now begin to tie all these together. They don't just do this one and this one, they tie all of these points together that I'm talking about. Good coaches consider all relevant information when they're assessing somebody's performance. They look at the work situation, the factors outside the work. They look at maybe how some pressures of the job or changing objectives might make an influence on what they're doing. So they consider all those factors as they're working with an employee, which means they need to do their homework. They can't just rely on reports, so you need to use them. You need to tie all those things together when you're looking at how well this person is performing. Good coaches also observe and monitor performance. In other words, leadership is a high-contact sport. They get involved with their people. Leadership engagement leads to employee engagement. Good coaches also work hard at knowing their team well enough to help them. They need to know what their strengths are. They need to know areas they need to improve. Certainly, we want to emphasize the strengths, but they know their teams well. They know if they have kids. They know if they're in a soccer team and they're coaching. They're just aware of that so they can have open lines of communication so that they can talk to their employees It isn't done just in a vacuum. It's all about results. It's all about the reports. If that happens, and what comes across is you don't care about them as a person, people won't excel unless they know that you care. And then, good coaches also recognize and reward high performance. Earlier I said they give feedback, positive feedback, constructive feedback when they're not doing so well. But what I'm talking about here is when people raise their game and they exceed the goals. They make exemplary progress on their goals. So they give public praise. They find creative ways to provide additional rewards. And good coaches also then build a warm, friendly, respectful relationship with their employees. And they set aside the time, they make the time to be able to work with their employees effectively. And their interpersonal skills, their people skills, being good listeners, comes across. And their employees want to do well because of the things that they're doing as a coach. Now, all of these points leads up to superstar coaching and are important in the model that I'm going to share with you right now. So, let's look at the model. This is a model for formal coaching. First step is review clear expectations and goals. Second step is you create action plans to back up those goals. Third step, on an ongoing basis, you assess performance. And then, as we mentioned earlier, you provide feedback and guidance. And then you need to follow up. Coaching is not a one-time thing. It's an ongoing process that we use. Now, this is formal coaching where you sit down one-on-one, 30 to 60 minutes, and work with an employee through these steps, put a plan in writing, they get a copy, you get a copy that you can follow up and reinforce. That's formal coaching. There's also another type of coaching that adds fuel to the fire to make this work. It's called informal coaching. And informal coaching is any time you have interaction with an employee throughout any given day. It could be on the phone, through an email, could be passing in the hall. And it's how you handle that situation that makes a difference. A little warm, friendly relationship, then a focus on one area of importance for a reinforcement or a follow-up for that employee. What it does is make sure that none of the things we're doing are in a vacuum, that it all goes together. Now, there are 5 key questions we want to ask ourselves and ask our employees when we work with them. Here they are. First question, and again, this can be used in an informal setting, in a formal setting. In a formal setting, we'll use all of these questions. In an informal setting, because it's only a minute here or 2 minutes there, we might use a couple of these. One is, how's it going? So we ask a broad question to see what they think about what's happening. See if they get into what's working and what isn't working. They talk about strengths and problems. They just go, I don't know. Oh, well, then you've got more work to do. Then you ask what's working. So you specifically want to know the actions they're taking on their goals and action steps. What's helping them? What's making progress? You want to get their perception of what isn't working as well. You want to see what problems they see. Now keep in mind, you've done your homework. You've observed and monitored performance. You've used the reports. So you've got a pretty good idea of what's going on. But we ask these questions to employees first. Generally in a coaching setting, 80% of the time, the employee is doing the talking because we're facilitating the discussion and leading them to improve performance. We'll ask the question as well, what help do you need to move forward? So how can you help them? And then you ask, what are you going to do differently or better next time? Now, there may be other questions you ask, but these 5 questions lead to the basis as effective coaching. Formally, we'll ask all of them and some additional ones. Informally, we asked 1 or 2 of these to direct their attention to what they're doing. Wow! I'll tell you what, this is the basis for an effective, ongoing relationship with an employee and improved performance. Here's what we found. Managers who learn how to do this and take the time to do this get improved results. Why? Because it's consistent, it's ongoing, it's effective, it's a dialogue. We're working with the employee to be more effective. This is the beginning of what we call superstar coaching. And I tell you what, you'll have great success following through on this.